Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Pearcey presents the Pearcey Presents podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Series 2 of the Pearcey Presents podcast. Now, apologies for the delay in transmission. I do apologise. I've been not 100% over the past couple of weeks. That does not mean that the podcast has been neglected in any way, shape or form. But we're back, we're better, and we're bigger than ever. We have some absolutely cracking guests. Going to be a slight few changes. The format's going to stay generally the same. However, I'm going to cut the episodes down a little bit shorter, see how that goes. And as I've always said from day one, if anyone has any comments, suggestions, feedback, positive or negative, not so much negative, but more constructive, please let me know. Shoot me an email at info@pearceypresents.com, or of course, send it through the socials at Pearcey Presents on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And of course, on Snapchat as well, a new addition to the Pearcey Presents social media catalogue that you can follow. The Pearcey Presents podcast. You'll get clips, you'll get highlights, you'll get some spoilers for upcoming episodes and guests. So stay tuned. The more likes and subscribers that we can get, it is way appreciated, because that way we can get bigger and better and more exciting guests. Of course, we are still running the competition for the Pearcey Presents prize pack, which is continually growing, which I will be posting some fantastic photos up over the next few days of just some of the prizes that the Pearcey Presents prize pack contains. Everything from signed pictures, signed water bottles, signed footies, drink bottles, t-shirts, books, you name it. We have it here at the Pearcey Presents podcast. So again, spread the word, tell your family, tell your friends, invite people to like the Facebook page, tweet it out, subscribe, and if you don't mind spending a minute of your time as well, give us a 5-star review and write a quick review of it on iTunes. And as I said, just tell your friends about it. Every little bit helps. So now, enough of me blabbering on. Thanks for coming back, listening to the Pearcey Presents podcast. And also, before we go, also remember to tweet, Facebook, Instagram, the guests, telling them how much you love them being on the Pearcey Presents podcast. They've taken time out of their day, week, month to spend with us and put across their story, and it's really greatly appreciated. Sit back and relax and enjoy part 1 of the wonderful, the beautiful, the stunning, the talented Mrs Rhonda Burchmore. Take it away, Rhonda!
When the rhythm starts to play and dance with me, make me sway like a lazy ocean hugs the shore. Hold me close, sway me more, like a flower bending in the breeze. Sway with me, there with ease. When you dance, you have a way with me. Sway with me, stay with me.
So here we are with the wonderful, beautiful and talented Mrs Rhonda Burchmore. Thank you so much for having us today, Rhonda.
Oh, look, absolute pleasure to meet you finally.
Thank you very much. And big thanks to Michael, your wonderful manager, who's supplied this beautiful apartment. And he's been a great help along the process. Huge shout out to him, and I'm sure I'll thank him at the end as well. So thank you, Michael. I'm sure I can hear that in the back room. So, Rhonda, you were born in Sydney, almost to the day. Happy birthday for Tuesday.
Thank you.
In 1960, I don't know if I should have
Oh,
said the year.
That's okay. People, these days can Google it, so it's out there now.
I should have said 1980.
Yeah,
you just
that's
can't
it.
trust Wikipedia.
That's it.
Your talent and kindness and popularity has seen you successfully travel the world. But how would you describe your childhood as a young Rhonda?
I grew up very safe, wonderful suburbs in Sydney, a little cul-de-sac there, an older sister, a younger brother. There was only about 10 families in this street. Our home backed off onto a park. It was a really, really lovely, safe, wonderful environment. My dad was in charge of transport for Brambles.
Okay.
And my mum, she was a mum that, just did everything and encouraged us from a very young age. My sister used to go to dance class, and I was about 2 when I used to get in the little Vauxhall Viva and go to Rockdale and watch the big kids dance, because I was physically the same height as the 5-6-year-olds at 2. And so I think the dancing teacher, Joan Smith, and Mum gave up one year and went, okay, she wants to do it. She can do it. Put her in the troupe. So there began my love for dance and performance and childhood. Most days of the week, off to either dance class, some sort of dance, or a singing class, piano. Mum spent pretty much all the budget on Michelle and I and Stuart on giving us every opportunity to do, all these wonderful things that thankfully so many years down the track I've kind of taken on board and, with this career of old showbiz.
That's beautiful. You've actually answered one of my other questions, is that I believe that you were a 2-year-old watching your older sister dance and that you actually went home and were able to do all the moves themselves, and your mum asked the teacher, can little Rhonda have a go? And, you picked it up and you just went with it.
And I still, I remember, that day of that concert where I was dressed as a little jockey. Which is which is funny because of my height even back then, comparable to most jockeys now, I suppose. But it was a little number called the Camptown Races.
Got me on another one.
Oh, sorry.
Was it the Doodah Day?
That's it. That's the one. And Camptown Doodah. So that was my first debut performance, and ever since then, some people say, is it in your blood? I think it is.
I think it is, absolutely. Especially with such long-term success, and you've been across the world, which we'll cover off in subsequent questions. But obviously, from that young age, you do feel like that's what you were meant to do.
For sure. Well, it's one of those things when you're young, you because it was a wonderful street, apart from my sister being, a dancer, the girls across the road were too. So, and it's funny when you kind of think where is that going to go? I never thought that there was any, I went to school and was a good student, but I always thought show business is what I wanted to do. And so I was always in the, put my hand up for the school musical or things like that. And only to, I did digress for a moment because my dad said, there was no future in show business, get yourself a real job. So I went to Armidale Uni to become a school teacher. So, yeah.
You'd be a wonderful school teacher, actually.
Yeah, very interesting. I was good.
So you did some rounds and
actually taught. They were infants to what would it be, like to 12-year-olds. So all infants and through primary. So I loved that, and I really admire all the school teachers out there today because I think it's a really hard gig. I did love it very much, and I was very creative and, with the kids, but my passion was to perform on the stage. So I taught for a while, and then once I got the old first professional showbiz gig, I kind of gave my notice for school teaching, and I thought I'll go back there if need be. And fortunately, 35 odd years later, I've never had to, so that's a good thing.
And it's always it's one of those professions that it's always needed. So you may need to do a bit of brushing up. I'm not sure with the requirements to be a school teacher these days, but you've obviously done it in the past. I can't see it, and touch wood, it never has to happen, but you have that fallback.
Oh,
option.
I'd never go back. No, no.
That's really
I would never go back. No. I think there's so many qualified people, and fortunately, I don't have to. So no, I know it's probably. No, I watch this space, but if that ever happened, I think, cows will fly. So
I'll keep my eye out. Now, do you have any favourite memories? Well, actually, before we get to that, you say that you lived on a street with about the 10 families and there were some girls across the road. Were you one of those girls or one of those families that used to get the parents around and do little performances for them?
Oh, yeah.
Singing performances or dancing or a bit of cabaret or a bit of everything?
Oh, a bit of everything. Well, I mean, we had, my dad built the back veranda of our house into a dance studio, so that was great. And my brother, who didn't like us dancing too much, used to roll oranges down to trip us up because, and it was a wonderful street and incredibly, my next door neighbour was Mark Burris, who was from, of course, Wizard Home Loans, Yellow Brick Road. I saw in the paper the other day his net worth is something like $15 to $20 million. So,
that's his loose change, no doubt.
Yeah, that's his. I mean, that was, and they were the first Greek family in the street.
Wow.
And the nicest family, and so it was a pretty productive little street. Yeah,
absolutely. So, what was in the water on that street?
But they're my fondest memories of when we had because it was a cul-de-sac. We had ball games in the street. We had cracker night or made a bonfire. It was a very community type of wonderful, and if mum wasn't home or dad, you'd go to each other's neighbours. It was a really lovely atmosphere to grow up in.
And that's something that I've talked about, not so much that aspect of neighbourhoods, but certainly kids on the street playing sport. Certainly I've discussed that with other guests that you don't see that much these days. But I think even to that greater point is certainly where I live and what I've seen and spoken to other people just in general about is that sense of community and neighbourhood has been lost. Absolutely.
That innocence too, that we could leave our doors open, we could, play on the street, all gone now.
It is, and it's really sad that there is, I don't know if there's more horrible people out there or if it's just more recorded or what it is, but it's just sad that you can't leave your doors open.
And especially, I look and I lament that, I have a beautiful daughter and raising her, I wish that we could, kind of take that part back to let her experience that because it was not like that. Even to take her to a supermarket when she was little, I if she was out of my sight for, 30 seconds, I'd panic, because it's very different now.
Absolutely. I remember if I ever lost my mum, I'd start screaming in the supermarket. I'd just run around like a headless chook. Scream, Mum! That was last week, no. That was very many years ago.
You're funny.
But would that have been triple or the impact been doubled because you were a celebrity or well-known in the public?
It is certainly double because you're recognisable and there are some crazy people out there that do, and my husband's a psychiatrist, which is so he treats some interesting people and some, very unbalanced, some of them, and, all of that kind of thing just to protect. But it's certainly, my childhood, I remember for holidays, I would go down the south coast of New South Wales and, take myself for walks down the beach to collect shells first thing by myself and I would actually go down to under the local bridge and meet a guy there called, all I knew his name was Purple Shirt, and we'd fish. And people go, oh my gosh, now I tell their story, but Dad had met Purple Shirt. I found out his name down the track, but it was a time of innocence. I mean, Purple Shirt did teach me to fish, and he had 6 kids of his own, and none of them liked to fish, but I was the one that was mad keen. But that's what I mean. There would be no way on this earth that you would let your kid, go fishing with a guy called Purple Shirt under a bridge.
If your daughter or if I had kids, like they said, I went fishing with Purple Shirt.
Yeah.
And I had no idea who it was.
Yeah.
You'd be calling the cops, or you'd be going around and saying, hello, I'm this little daughter's dad. Like, you'd just be losing your marbles, wouldn't you?
And that, because it's just changed so much,
It's sad, isn't it? Yeah, but that's all, I suppose. How would you describe, or how would your teachers describe a young Rhonda?
I think I was, without calling myself a teacher's pet, I used to love watching them, especially the ones that were good. And even to this day, which is many moons ago since I was at school, teachers come to my shows and remind me of what I did. I used to walk to school and pick flowers for my favourites off I don't know whose bushes, but I used to bring them bouquets and sing in class. I think fairly, fairly loving, kind of generous, very positive young girl. That a bit like Pollyanna, that saw everything, perfect world, perfect people. It was a wonderful childhood, and I hope, I'm sure there'd be teachers that probably couldn't bear me, but most of them I got a very good relationship with.
That's tremendous. And they come to your shows still.
They still, beautiful. I had one, I had a professor that I was doing some concert. He was in the audience and he said, "Remember me?" And he was like, bless him, he was in a chair with breathing equipment. And I thought, it's really lovely that they still have fond memories of that time, or, that I somehow left an impression on them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and not you as a, lack of a better word, as a celebrity, but you as an actual person.
Oh, just as, I was just, I remember one of my favourite things with the teachers, when I was in year 12, at my school, I actually did a production and the Codfish Ball, Shirley Temple's Codfish Ball, and I got actually not only the kids in my year, but all the school teachers in that piece, and I choreographed them and directed them. So it was pretty stupid. Yeah.
So you were like all in on performance from a very young age.
Oh yeah. Yes. And telling what the school teachers how to do it too, and they the maths teacher dressed as a crayfish, and the other one as a prawn, and another one as a jellyfish. And I had my crippled history teacher. She was in a chair. She was sad she couldn't be in it, and I said, yes, you can. And so I've actually got her chair, and I made her into a mermaid. So I put
it's beautiful.
Little tail on her, and she wheeled on as a mermaid. So
that's wonderful. Yeah. So thoughtful.
Yeah, a bit creative. I was
very creative, and we will talk about that because I know that you are writing your own shows now, so that's something that I'm certainly interested in picking your brain about as well. So that's covering off your school period. Did you ever have, apart from being a performer, that was obviously your number one aim, did you ever have any other goals that you ever thought of that if you weren't going to be a performer, apart from the school teacher, which sounds like it came down on a little bit further, did you ever want to be something else? Or was school teaching maybe in your mind because you had such good experiences with your teachers? School
teaching was, I guess it was when I did my year 12, I got a scholarship and I got into the uni to my BA Dip Ed. And so that's where that came from. And I thought I don't mind teaching. I never wanted to be like a rocket scientist or a doctor or a lawyer. I knew I wanted to be a serious stage performer, but that was, as I said, just a way to get there, to as something to fall back on just in case.
And what steps did you put in place going through school and after school that maybe put you in the right step to be a performer? Obviously you're doing dancing lessons and singing lessons and piano lessons. Did that ramp up as you got older?
Yeah, I did all sorts of classes, and of course you get to a stage with ballet, that you do exams and you get to a stage where you're accepted into companies and things like that. I knew a very bad experience when I was 15, going into a final ballet exam, that I was kind of pretty much laughed out of the examination because the adjudicator said that at my height, who would ever dance with you, because I was very tall then. I was like 6 foot but really thin. And that was fairly devastating as a 15, 16-year-old.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember throwing my ballets away and going, I never want to dance again. And I only, and I'm sure that destroys a lot of kids and their confidence. So I didn't ever do ballet again, but I certainly did tap dancing and jazz and continue with my singing and, all the way through. I would do, apart from school, I would do, enter myself into little competitions and things like that. But I guess, I didn't go professional until I was, my first show was, they're playing our song after I'd graduated from uni.
She was. So you're obviously quite resilient copying that from a ballet teacher or examiner. That would have been something that you've had to sustain throughout your performance and life, that seeing that you've been a lifetime performer.
It was like, put it this way, when my daughter now, who's fast forward, when she was growing up and she was tall too, and she said, I don't want to be, I don't want to do this. I feel really stupid being this height with all these kids that are my age but are a lot more petite and perfect, like for dance. I said, if you don't want to do it, I don't want you to have to experience what I did. So she pulled out of dance at an early age, but whereas she was about probably 10, whereas I kind of went through, and it does have a major effect on you, whether, you're tiny or tall or, big or little, that kind of, very negative. And I never, all I do now is, I kind of think, when I walk on stage, I kind of put on, and that was the Americans telling me down the track, when I got another job, to, you're 6 foot, this is a positive thing. Don't you see it as, you need to slouch your head, wear the flat heels and be proud of that. So once that was instilled in me, all changes around.
Absolutely.
And I go, I wonder, well, he's probably not alive anymore, but I wonder, how many other people he would have affected, in their confidence to perform.
That's right. Like, you're at a vulnerable age at 15, 16, and that would have just been heartbreaking, especially it's something that you love and you've been doing for years, and while you're in an exam of all places to cop that.
Because I'd done as much work as, the next kid,
You're probably better than most of them as well, which probably hurt even more.
And because I was in a room of, I think there was 4 or 5 girls that were like the perfect height and the perfect, size. And I was like a bit of an ostrich, like a, big bird sitting there. But anyway, that's all right.
At least you can laugh about it.
Laugh about it now.
Yeah, if you don't laugh, you cry. Yes. So you've spent 30 years in the performance business. Why do you think that you are loved by so many Aussies? And what do you put your longevity down to, apart from your amazing talent?
Oh, you're very kind. And I think I'm knocking up maybe 35 years since I've, if you count, I don't go through numbers, but I know it's a long time. I guess my longevity, which is probably the thing I'm most proud of, is that I've never pigeonholed myself in any one particular area. I've, whether it be musical theatre, whether it be recording, whether it be opera, singing jazz, whether it be film or telly, or I've always, kind of thought, oh, I wonder what this is like, and put my toe in that. And I think those artists that kind of go, well, I'm only a mainstream, like this or this, that's what, so there's exceptions, of course, but I think that's why I'm still here.
Just putting eggs in different baskets, so to speak, and if you enjoy it because you've been on the film. Was that your initial breakout role, or was it the stage performance that you were referring to earlier?
The stage was the stage, and with obviously with the business you get an agent, and if the first movie, which was a shocker, but it's an icon in as one of the, I think it won the Golden Turkey Award, but was the pirate movie, and it's a bit of a cult movie, with Christy McNichol and Christopher Atkins. So I played Kate in that. So it's kind of an iconic movie for some reason, whether it's because it is so bad. But yeah, the musical theatre was, I think I felt most comfortable.
How did you end up getting that role in the pirate movie?
Well, I was doing, I'd done They're Playing Our Song. That was my first musical. And as I said, you get in the business, you have an agent and they put you up for things. And in the pirate movie, they usually, the producers will send a casting brief to the agents. So they needed people who could sing and act and dance. So that's where, and I went and got that. Yeah.
And it's something you don't regret doing? It was a good learning experience?
Oh, good learning. Absolutely. Good fun. Met some of my, one of them in particular, my lifelong buddy, Linda Nagel. Met David Atkins, who I would then go on and do many things with. But, yeah, no regrets.
And you've done lots on television. So you've done variety shows, Hey Hey. Was it the Bert Newton show or was it...
Midday Show.
Midday Show, sorry.
With Mike Walsh. That was my very first.
Okay.
That was... I was still at university and I think it was like 17, 18. And I had a wonderful woman called Claire Poole who had taught me singing. Said, I think you're ready to have a solo spot. And it was like because I don't never audition for those shows. It's you just magically appeared. And if you were good, you'd keep appearing or you'd be never heard of again. So I did my first professional Mike Walsh show, and that went live to air with the Jeff Harvey Orchestra. And at the end of that, I was booked for that. After it went to air, I was booked for the Don Lane show. So there became the, and I was on one of those shows regularly every other week. And so I did the Mike Walsh show, the Don Lane show, and Bert Newton had a show. And then I was then on Hey Hey for many years.
Of course. Any good Mike, Don or Bert stories that you can share?
Oh gosh, Bert remains a very dear friend. It was a wonderful time that it's so sad that we don't have anything like it anymore.
It is.
It was by the skin of your pants because it was live. It was, you see those people on, I'm sad for those people on The Voice and all those shows that there's nothing like this anymore. You'd get a rehearsal at 9 o'clock and then you'd go into hair and makeup, you'd learn a routine and then you had to be pretty switched on and no nerves, and then midday you'd be on. And same with the evening, and it went nationally. So it was a great learning. You're just thrown in. And
yes.
But oh my gosh, I as I said, I'm so blessed that I had those opportunities. Ray Martin was another one. I used to do his show, and it was just like, oh yeah, every other week I would do one. And now I look back, so much because Mum put everything on VHS or whatever, which is now obviously dinosaur land. but I've had it gradually moved over to DVD and now on a hard drive, because those times will never come again. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then that's I have a wonderful man in my life called James Carroll, who is a young 22, but he's a filmmaker and he likes his Rhonda, and he's actually that's his kind of baby to eventually get like a YouTube channel.
Yes.
And like Rhonda Rewind or something, and
Wonderful.
do all these old performances going back from 1982. So,
wow. Do you think there could be a possible documentary in that?
I hope so. I mean, I just think when you look at the level of musicianship and big bands and all of that stuff, I mean, I wish there would be stuff that you could have seen behind the scenes, but it was just virtually just the routines.
Yes.
But, you think of all those shows were virtually like a diary for my life.
Absolutely.
Because if I went on and talked about something, I went, oh, okay. Even when I was writing my book, I went, oh, that's what happened, because even though there was no written diary, when you see those interviews, they're all kind of chronological. And so they served as that. James put something up on Facebook, and it got thousands and thousands of likes, So there's obviously, and I think, and a lot of those people obviously on there are younger people that they never grew up with that kind of variety, and they went, my God, we can't believe that this is what you guys did live.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah, I reckon that'd be a massive hit. So when that starts to happen, I'll keep an eye out and let me know, and we'll put a shout out. So.
All right then, deal.
Wonderful. So you travelled to London's West End and performed in a number of musicals, including Sugar Babies, featuring good friend Mickey Rooney and Anne Miller. Stop the World, I Want to Get Off It with Anthony Newley, and starring opposite formerly mentioned David Atkins in the original Hot Shoes Shuffle that I believe was originally written for you. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
That would have been an amazing experience. Was London somewhere that you wanted to conquer over America, or was it just the bright lights of the West End that attracted you?
West End, the first show that got me there was Sugar Babies, and, London's West End, Broadway are kind of very comparable with, the shows and the hub of there. It just, as it panned out, I'd done Sugar Babies here in Australia with wonderful Gary MacDonald. Your listeners would know from Mother and Son, and wonderful Norman Gunston before that. And the American team that came to cast me here in Australia invited me to the London's West End. So, and I just thought, as a young 22 or something year old, I thought, that's just the way it is. You do the show here, you get great reviews, you go there. But